Artemis 2 rolls out again in anticipation of an early April launch, but no one at NASA wants to put a number on the crew's chances, interestingly. Here's some good news. 100 years ago today, from a cabbage patch in Massachusetts, Robert Goddard flew the first liquid fuel rocket, and we're going to celebrate that. The Pentagon is tapping Wall Street to manage $200 billion in defense-related investments. What could go wrong? The race to mine space is on, but who sets the rules? Government space spending globally hit $137 billion last year, and for the first time, defense sectors accounted for over 50% of that, over civil. Jared Isaacman wants to make Pluto great again. Plus, we take a big picture look at space and humanity's future. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. And as you know, this program is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do we do? Of course, you know that too. We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially the show, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So remember, the Center is a 501c3 nonprofit. So just go to our website, cscf.space/support. Click that donate button and drop something in the tip jar. In addition, if you like this show, you support this show, tell your friends, bring them on in. Let's have some fun. Thank you so much in advance for your support. Now, my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, who just finished painting a Cairo monogram, is here with me. Michael, come on in.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm okay.
Good. What's going on?
Oh, it's been raining like the Dickens last couple of days, just dumping it down. That's good, actually. Yeah. It cools things off a little bit and fills the pool, and
we got.
They charge you for water here, so if I get rain, I'm good. Right.
Yeah, sure. No, we got a snow day on Friday. Yeah. I woke up and there were flakes, and by the time 10 o'clock rolled around, we had 2 inches on the ground, and the power went out. The power went out for 30 hours.
Oh,
so that was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it was a snow day, so I just kind of chilled. It was nice.
You chilled on a snow day. Good. Yeah, good. That's kind of what happens on a snow day.
Yeah.
But you are above the 45th parallel, so those things happen.
Yeah.
I'm around the 33rd or something, or maybe a little lower. So not so much.
It was the first time this year that it really snowed. So everybody was really caught off guard. No one was prepared for it this time.
Yeah, because people don't realize Seattle's like San Francisco. It has all those hills.
Yeah,
it's got a lot of hills. And when it snows like that, and you're not ready, forget it. Forget it. And most of today's generation, they don't know how to drive a stick.
No, right. There was an event, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. They called it Snowpocalypse. There was a bus that was up on Capitol Hill. Lost its brakes, couldn't stop, crashed over an embankment, and about 10 feet of it was hanging over the freeway. The freeway's down here. There's about 10 feet of it hanging off the embankment over the freeway. The pictures of it are incredible. It's worth looking up in the pictures. Yeah, those are crazy days.
Yeah, Oregon gets those too. I had, when I was growing up there, there was a big snowpocalypse in like 1968. I was 14, And so that was huge. Of course, you love having the snow days then, because
Right.
it's 3 feet deep everywhere and nobody can get anywhere. You're just paralyzed. Well, just so happens 40 years later, which is about the timing, I happen to be in Salem again for the 2008 snowpocalypse.
Fantastic.
I got stuck again, but I had to get my mom around. I had to figure out a way to, oh yeah, it was a mess. So I don't miss it one bit.
Great. Not a bit.
One bit. Well, it is a newsy night tonight. So we can spend as much time as we want talking about stuff.
Sure.
We'll hope folks are going to show up and say hi and put their 2 cents in. And there's Morty. Hey, Morty, he's already here. Good for you, man. Thanks for
I'm
coming.
going to do a quick screen share. That's the bus hanging over I-5, right? Yeah. So we didn't have this. That happened a long time ago. We didn't have this time. A car did get stuck like this, but yeah, that's straight out of a.
But note, since it is Seattle, that thing's hanging over there, and people don't care. They're stuck in the rush hour traffic anyway. So it's gonna follow me. Fucking
fine.
Yeah, we're fine. Chill.
Good old Seattle.
Oh my God. Yeah, so a lot going on. Well, there's not a lot going on. I mean, there is such there's some interesting news, but it's not a lot of money. It's only like a secondary kind of thing. We'll talk about a little bit tonight.
Well, we'll talk about something where, remember that conversation about Japan 1 week and then Germany the next week said, hold my beer. And then America decides, you know what? I think we're going to put something into that. So we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. I don't want to mess up your.
Very good. We do. We're supposed to have a guest tonight. We do not have a guest tonight. She had she had to change her schedule. So here we are, and we'll. The first couple of things are actually kind of interesting. I guess Artemis has gotten the okay, Artemis 2, to roll out again, and they're planning on an early April launch. Now, that's the second article, but that's okay. The rollout piece, they technically gave the earliest date is April 1st. I did not want to mention that in writing. Something about me, I didn't want to jinx it. You know what I mean?
That's not the day I would have picked. I'd be like, we're already years overdue and billions over budget. Maybe we roll this thing out for April 2nd. Maybe we don't call it April Fool's Day.
Maybe that's not the best thing to do. But they said it, not me. I wasn't going to put that in typescript on a screen. I just wasn't going to do it. So they got that going. But I thought it interesting as a little side bit on this was that they were being hammered, I guess, by press people for all you experts, what are the odds that this is going to be a really successful mission? And they refused to put a number on it. They just talked around it and went around and little windy things like the infinite loop symbol, around the whole thing. So it doesn't give you a whole lot of confidence.
It doesn't. That sprung out of an Inspector General article that came out, a report that came out a few days ago that was really asking questions about, how risky is this thing? How safe is this thing? And they were complaining that there's not really a, emergency escape plan if things go wrong. Well, reminding people, there wasn't an emergency escape plan during the Apollo days either.
Well, they did have the tower, but once that tower on there, but after a certain phase in the launch sequence, that was useless. They just had to shoot it off. Now you're committed. It's all or nothing. That's how we got Apollo 13.
Right, and so they're like Blue and SpaceX. They're taking heat for an unsafe mission design, but I'm like, actually, there's probably a lot safer than the Apollo days. So
in relative
I
terms,
think,
maybe, yeah. But the important
yeah,
thing is, I mean, no one's wishing for a disastrous accident. I don't think that's going to happen. If there is a big problem, you got to understand the people that are putting in that spaceship are some of the most highly trained people in the world, and they've probably planned for every possible contingency the AI could throw at them, when they're training. And so
right.
I'm pretty confident whatever happens. And I hope it works out. But if something does happen, they're going to pull through. They'll be fine. I think. I'm not, I don't think anything's going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, but I think that's why they're having all these questions about NASA dodging the question about their safety, is because of that Inspector General report that came out a couple weeks ago. So,
yeah.
But I mean, NASA can't say it's 100%. They won't do that. But they also aren't going to come out and say it's 73.1%, right? They can't do that either. So they're just boxed into a corner. So I would not want to be one of NASA's PR people. Right.
That'd be horrible if they're in a back room somewhere all going, it's only 32. Shit, we can't say that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Don't do that.
That's your wildest nightmare. It goes through your head when you're thinking about those things. No, it's just me.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
I got a thing
from
LinkedIn. I got a little thing from LinkedIn. It said, we have this invite out there, for everybody to come to the show, and said, yes, Morty Friedman and 40 other people said they were coming.
Yeah.
Where are they? I see Morty. Come on. And boom. I knew that was going to happen. I glitched out before we even started, and I get a little hint. I get this little yellow, like red flag thing that goes up. Beep. Right. I just almost don't see it, and then I know a few seconds later it's going down. I don't know. I'm going to put that.
That's the fun of running a live show.
There is. So maybe it's good we don't have a guest tonight. If I'm going to glitch out, 8 times tonight. It's
right.
You could carry whatever is going on.
Right. Sure.
But here we go. Okay. Let's spend a little time on this, because I think this is vaguely important. Today, literally today, March 16, we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the first pure liquid fueled rocket flight that Robert Goddard did in a cabbage patch in late winter in northern Massachusetts, which is somebody's farm near where he lived.
Right.
I guess the flight only lasted 23 seconds and it only went maybe 100 feet.
Not even that.
But there's the famous picture. That was it.
Right. Yeah. I have kind of a nostalgic thing about that. I'm pulling up a map here just to give y'all perspective. Okay. But before I got into the space sector, I was just I was a student out at Boston University, and just kind of doing my thing, and I wound up out in the Worcester area, which is pretty far drive from Boston, and I'd actually been near the farm where he did this, and it's not a farm anymore. It hasn't been a farm for a long time, and a bunch of the guys on the crew team were. There are a lot of folks on the crew team are engineers. There's a natural kind of connection there, and they all wanted to kind of swing past and go kind of, pay homage. And I was bored. I was like, whatever. And so ultimately we didn't wind up going. And I really, really feel like I missed out on that. I wasn't into the space stuff the way I am now. It didn't mean anything to
Well,
me.
now you're paying for your sins.
I am.
Doing the show
I'm
with
really,
me. You're being with your
I'm like, dang it! What a dumb decision that was.
Well, now you can repent.
Yeah.
But
So the next article's talking about, Nell. Nell is what Goddard named his equipment. The gangly apparatus climbed 41 feet high and landed in a cabbage patch 60 yards away. The entire journey took less than 3 seconds, but March 16th, 2026 had just become the date of the world's first liquid-fueled rocket flight, and Dr. Robert Goddard had just become the father of modern rocketry. This is what he wrote in his journal. It looked almost magical as it rose, without any appreciably greater noise or flame, as if it said, "I've been here long enough. I think I'll be going somewhere else if you don't mind." I think that's
well. Don't feel bad about missing all this, because the people who really missed out were the people writing op-eds for the New York Times.
Right.
Now, even before he flew, they were saying they opined that Goddard's work in rocketry and his suggestion that such a device could reach the moon was, quote, a severe strain on credulity. Of course, Goddard only seems to lack the knowledge laid out daily in high schools. How could he know anything?
Right.
Rocket can't push against a vacuum, has to push against something. Today we laugh, of course, howling derisively, but that was the newspaper of record at that period in history and for a long time afterwards. So for them to say stuff like that, it's like, it's nuts. It's just absolutely nuts. But a lot of people were inspired by his work, not the least of which were guys like Hermann Oberth and Werner von Braun and people like that who took that principle and did some, very bad things with it before they did some very good things with it.
The rockets have been around for hundreds, right? But they were all solid rockets, right? And mostly they were party favors and limited.
Right. They used them to shoot shiny things into the air.
Right.
And wow people on holidays.
Yeah.
But then Western civilization got a hold of that and it says,
I have an idea.
We could blow a hole in the castle over there. Let's try that.
Right. Oh, Morty's asking, how did they think rockets would work in vacuum?
My question is, how did they think they wouldn't? Because the pressure is mass pressure, literally, of the energy expansion coming out of the combustion chamber. And so that force, that action, has an equal and opposite reaction going the other way.
Right.
It doesn't matter what medium you're in when you're doing it.
But they thought that you had to push against. They thought that you had to push against the air.
Yeah.
Right. That's what that high school physics that the New York Times was talking about.
Right. It was completely wrong if they were learning that stuff. It was something was being ladled out. All right. Let's put it that way. How's that? Yeah.
So good job, Goddard. Thanks, buddy. We owe you. The world owes you.
Well, that was the thing. There's some silly thing you find on social media. It says, well, if we build a city on Mars, what should we call it? And my choice is always Goddard for the first city on Mars.
When we were building the Earth elevator, we always put a little Lego guy on all of our robots climbing up and down strings. And his name was always A.C. Clarke.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arthur Clarke.
Yeah. Arthur. Yeah.
And our staff artist did a picture of, a rendering of the first city in space, and we called it Clarke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. There really isn't the same kind of romantic science fiction focused on the moon. Homer Hickam, speaking of early Rocket Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Homer Hickam wrote a story called Crater. One of his fictional stories is called Crater, and it's about a kid working on the lunar elevator. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But there isn't the same namesake. Like Clarke really pushed the Earth elevator. Like it was pretty obvious that you had to do something in homage to him. But I mean, all of Heinlein's moon stuff is pretty negative, I won't say it's dystopian, but it's
also a product of the Cold War.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just post World War II he started coming into his own.
Yeah.
Although I think he was right in a certain way. He was the one that did Destination Moon, and that premise was like, well, the government isn't going to get this done right, so we, the industrialists, the wealthy industrialists in the private sector, have to take this on.
Yeah.
And that's becoming now almost predictive, of what's happening now. So 80 years later, by 2030, that's exactly what's happening.
Yep.
So you got that one right.
Well, let's move on with the news a little bit.
We got time.
What's Morty saying here?
Well, he's asking why it took so long to figure you control a rocket to orbit. Well, Western civilization, you have to do that in general. It's what Western civilization does with stuff, especially after the year 1500 or so. So you go from Da Vinci to Isaac Newton and to people like that. First came the physics, and then right after that came the engineering.
Yep.
And and what is all that? Engineering or physics in that regard? Something my high school physics teacher taught me. It's very simple. You play with this, you get that.
Right.
And you do it multiple times, you're getting the same thing. Okay, let's alter it. Let's play with this in a different way and see what we get. If you get the same thing, you're making a new theory out of it. You get a different thing. Okay, what made it change? And that's basically all it is. That's what science is. That's what experimentation is. That's how you learn how the universe works.
Neil deGrasse Tyson has a really interesting book that it really ties together how the physicists and the chemists have always worked lockstep in the Western war machine.
Yeah.
That and so it wasn't until we figured out that we kind of need to be able to send nukes to Russia that we started really thinking about what does it take to go to space.
In fact, you could argue the whole Apollo project was about that. It was about showing the Russians we can put as much as we want, anywhere we want, anytime we want, any place we want.
Yep.
And that's why the first lunar landing was just showing the world we could get there. But the second lunar landing had to be precise. And it was one of the more precise ones, even though we didn't get a lot of video footage, because they aimed the camera at the sun, but they picked a spot where a surveyor probe had landed years before and landed within a few hundred yards of it and literally just walked over there and patted it on the head and took pictures and brought a little piece of it back, to show they'd done it. And so that's when the experiment was technically, demonstrated.
Yeah. Morty, I'll tell you, you guys all know I have a pretty big collection of books. One thing that I've got is old encyclopedias that reference either the moon or space. And those encyclopedias from the 50s and 60s are all speculative.
Right.
And there's so many errors in them. And then, think about encyclopedias. I know you're so young that maybe you don't think of an encyclopedia as an authoritative reference, but it used to be the everyday person. That was their authoritative reference. Yep. And if you were anywhere in upper middle class America, that was your go-to.
That was basically that was the internet, man. That was a 32 volume set of Britannicas,
right?
1968. Boom. Yeah. That was that was a go-to for everything.
But it's super interesting to find old copies and see how the word moon changes. And boy, I'll tell you, the 1967 version of the moon article on the moon is way different than the 1962 version. Yeah. Right.
Well, the same is true with encyclopedias, because those the big Britannicas were from the it was like a 200th anniversary edition. My dad got those, so just when I was transitioning to high school in 1968, so that we're gonna have a brand new Britannica, so he has something to work with. Because before we had another 30 volume set of something called Funk and Wagnalls, and those old things, and those are from the early 50s. And so the stuff on the moon might be still okay and usable, but nothing on Venus is. They still thought that there were oceans of water underneath the Venusian clouds in 1950, and so they didn't know. They didn't know.
The articles of Mars are the same
until
way.
You got to the yearbook events of 1962, and you look at it and go, "Oh, everything we knew about Venus was wrong."
Morty's like, I don't think I ever read a paper encyclopedia.
He doesn't drive a stick either, do you, Morty?
Right. No, he does. No, he does. Really? I learned this. I talked to him about 3 weeks ago. I'm gonna out you, buddy. He plays video games with high performance cars and he uses the stick in a high performance car video game, and he was telling me he can't wait to get out into a real track with a real car. He doesn't do it very often, but it's a thing. So, but he's rare in that, right? His generation doesn't.
I want to do it too. I'm going to take my Z car. I'm going to soup it up a little bit, and because Daytona is right down the street. And a couple of times a year, they let you bring your own rig on there and just run it on the track for a lap or two. So I want to do that. It's a bucket list thing.
We had a kind of a cool bonding moment because I've got this old, now retired Porsche 914, and we are comparing, his version of modern racing versus my antique version of racing. It was fun.
Well, probably his version of modern racing is not affordable for the average person. I don't know if he's talking Ferrari or Maserati or something, as opposed to say a Porsche Carrera, like, or a 928, like we might do.
Okay. All right, let us talk about the Pentagon.
Let's talk about something really scary. Forget Artemis 2. This is really scary. The Pentagon wants to trust $200 billion to Wall Street to run a economic defense unit. And they're hiring a consortium of Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, and Bank of America to manage $200 billion in defense-related investments over 3 years. And so, and the recruitment pitch was prepared by a guy named Struggles, which I think is interesting. And they're deploying unprecedented capital volumes. It's not really clear. They're saying why it matters. Well, Well, it matters because there is a proposed 1.01 trillion U.S. defense budget for this year,
Right.
with billions earmarked for advanced weapons. So I guess if they can, so isn't this insider trading? They want this fund to invest in the companies that they're buying from.
So there is so much in this thing.
There's a lot to unpack.
There really, really, really is. All right. So first of all, the beginning of this year and the end of last year, remember that forced, we're trading $10 billion worth of, Intel stock that the government forced itself to buy. Intel stock. It forced that transaction. And we started talking, you and I started talking about, the United States building a sovereign wealth fund and what would that look like? And is this a transaction that fits that? Because we've known that that's been kind of a Trump checklist item, is he's wanted to build and then just a few weeks later, suddenly there's another multi-billion-dollar investment into a rare earth elements, earth minerals company. And we had the same conversation. Like, dude, I'm telling you, this is a signal. Like, once is an anomaly, twice is a signal.
This is a pattern.
And we're aiming, and I'm like, I guarantee you we're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, and we're going to have a sovereign wealth fund that uses the defense sector as its catalyst. I opened this up Saturday morning, and this article and the other ones associated with it, I just started laughing. and my first thought was, oh, it's Christmas time. It's Christmas. This is the biggest present. This is the biggest present our industry is going to get this year. That they are in fact building a sovereign wealth fund. We don't know any details. We don't know any information. Y'all can get the AIs to tell you as much as they've told us, but we don't know anything yet. But I swear we are going to have a sovereign wealth fund by the end of this year. It's going to look pretty different from the Norwegian and Sweden version. It's going to look pretty different from the Middle East Saudi versions. It's going to look pretty different from the Asian versions, because they all have different governments. They all have different goals and agendas. But we're going to have a sovereign wealth fund that puts a bunch of money into space. I'm 100% certain of that at this point. And I'm like, I'm getting my elevator funded.
There you go. There you go.
Morty, you should try and get your elevator funded. I mean, like, it's a thing. It really is. And we were all excited when Japan came out with their $8 billion. Last was October, September, or something like that. And then Germany
came in with like what, 40 billion or something?
40 billion. We're like, holy shit, right? And then America's like, just wait a second. We got something for you.
Yeah. Pete Hegseth's going, hold my beer.
Right. Yeah. We talked about JP Morgan a couple, maybe 4 months ago, and they committed $1.5 trillion to 4 major sectors, 10 major sectors. Space was one of them, of which they were going to put their own, $1 billion over the course of 10 years. Right. And that's a lot for a private banking company. Right. But holy cow, I don't think anybody was thinking of 200 billion. And we don't know what it is. We don't know if that's like 200 billion split into 3 years across 4 organizations.
Well, yeah, that's what it
we
kind of looks like.
yeah
Kind of, you know. I
yeah
mean, you're
yeah.
not going to have 4 different firms working on one pot of money. You're going to split it up.
Well, and it's not really clear what they're going to do or how this thing is going to work.
Because it's not clear what the strategy is. Is it just growth or income? You see, it's how you playing with it.
Right. Is it just a financial catalyst? Is it America's version of venture capital? That would be a remarkable fund if they operated that like a VC fund.
Oh yeah,
that's a game changer. Like the world doesn't know what to do with that, yeah. Right?
And we're already the most entrepreneurial country. You add this to it,
right.
and it's like,
yeah, right. What happens? I'm not saying they're going to put 200 billion into space, right? They're going to put it into
defense stuff.
They're going to put it into lasers and communications and chips and robots.
Absolutely. A lot of good spin-off opportunity with the robot stuff, though.
Right.
So
right. The drone company has got to be, industry has got to be dancing in the streets, because we don't have a Ukrainian style drone industry in America. So that's definitely going to be a thing. But I mean, just put on your, pull out your crystal ball. What are we going to do? What is America going to do with $200 billion spread across multiple sectors? And how does that impact space? Let's just focus it back to space for a second and brainstorm a little bit.
Okay.
Sean, chime in the background, buddy. I like to. He's like,
send in the Marines.
Let the Marines keep track of it. We're good at accounting for sure, right? So what happens with a $200 billion? Keeping in mind, this is separate from the $1 trillion defense budget. This is not part of that. They didn't carve 20% of the defense budget and decide it's going to go into venture. So what happened? And I'm going to just put up Joe's comment here because I think it's pretty good. Sovereign funds has the government put its thumb on the scale, making it harder to get funding unless you know someone. 100%.
That is a real danger. Absolutely.
Right. And we try to not move into politics on this show, but I think politics is a legit topic. This is a government that has been known to, line its own pockets by the decisions that it makes, right? So we know that's going to be a thing. I mean, so you do need to know somebody. You do need to play the political game here. If you're going to get access to this money, but what does $200 billion? Let's call it simplify it and just say 65 billion a year for 3 years. What does that get us? What how much of that? I mean, of course, the industry wants all of it to come to space. That's not very realistic. But if we got 20% of it to go to space,
that was the number was kicking around in my head. It's
20%.
And also depends on how you define space. As you know, here at the center, we have there's space, and there's kind of space related, and then there's space scalable. And stuff are going to build on the ground that could be used in space when you're ready. And you make a lot of money right here in the ground, though. By the time you're ready to go to space, you have a crap ton of money, and you can deploy anywhere you want. And that makes your brand look good because you're there. And so there's a lot of different opportunity there. And of course, Shubber talked about his atoms versus electrons kind of thing. An electron and in a direct head-to-head, electrons are going to have the advantage because You don't have to roll out huge
financially.
sheets of steel like Elon Musk is doing right now, and
Yeah.
make big things with it. So AI is going to be a flavor of the month, continuous.
It is, and AI could eat that entire $65 billion per year.
Yep.
Right? Absolutely, they could just gobble it up, and not a nickel of it comes to space. But I don't think that's how they're going to work. You think 20%?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good estimate. And again, it depends on how you define space, but it will be atoms and not electrons. But because when I said, yeah, as you said, you're right. AI could eat the whole thing, but it's not going to, because most of the AI is used for other purposes. They're going to look at clearly just defense purposes. How can we use AI, in classified ways for our own, evil purposes, do what we want to do and be the hegemon of the world. And so whatever they spend on that might not even be, they'll spend that in the regular, Golden Dome budget, the standard defense budget. A little come out of there, but with $1 trillion defense budget, there is stuff going on that's off the books.
Of course there is. Yeah.
And so that's where this top secret, defense AI projects are going to go. Probably, my guess.
Yeah. Well, we know that there's Golden Dome is going to just chew up a ton of money, and also the new battleship, which I am very much against a new battleship. I'm going to state that super goddamn clearly.
Yeah.
Right. That is just a big target. I do not understand
and
why the world needs a new battleship.
And your first mission is to Strait of Hormuz. Right?
Right? Oh, nothing good is going to happen. But that's a $500 billion in those two missions. I don't think that's what we're talking about here. I think this is a different kind of money. I said it on purpose, a different kind of money. Yeah. So if you got, all right, so we said $200 billion divided into 3 years, $65 billion. Now you and I say 20% to space. I think there's going to be 20% for space, and there's probably some other like 20% that's going to be supporting space. Yeah. So laser comms definitely is going to get a giant chunk of money, right? Lasers have got a lot of applications in a technical warfare environment. Yeah. So they're going to do a lot with lasers. They're going to do a lot with communications. They're going to do a lot with robotics and computing.
Well, here...
But I'm going to keep those in separate buckets.
Yeah, you should.
I'm just going to talk about,
because here's at the very end of this thing. At the very end of this thing, it says 2 plausible scenarios are emerging. One in which this unit accelerates funding for high priority defense tech, improving procurement speed, which is good, and fostering innovation through public-private partnerships, which I'm skeptical of. There's another scenario that could emerge where the integration of high finance and defense triggers calls for tighter oversight due to transparency and conflict of interest concerns. So the ultimate impact will depend on governance structures, ethical safeguards, and the geopolitical environment.
I suspect that this is going to roll out super fast, and the watchdogs and guardrails are not going to be there.
Yeah. And for a lot of the space stuff, I mean, I'm saying 20% because they're going to want a capacity to do certain things in the space environment that they're not able to do right now. And that's why I say there's going to be more investment in either public-private partnerships or just private sector developments in certain key technologies, little pieces that they put together later to create that capability. And it could be in orbit, it could be on the moon, it could be, anywhere in between.
I bet you this gets nuclear engines on the moon faster, right? I think that's going to speed up.
Or anywhere else, for that matter.
So it's going to, or everywhere else, right? Yeah. Right. Power in orbit means power in orbit, right? So if you got $13 billion is going into space, but it's public-private partnership, how much of that, like in the old defense, I know the Defense Innovation Unit currently exists, but the model is different than it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, DIU would put in 1 million or 2 million, and then private industry would come in with 5 or 10 million. So it was a 10-to-1 or a 5-to-1 leverage because it was considered a lighthouse investment. That's what they called it, a lighthouse investment, where the government shines a light and says, this is safe passage. Over here, that's where we want to put our capital, our resources. So this $13 billion, right, annually that's going to space might get a 5-to-1 lever that the private sector would come in and lever that. Now we're talking $65 billion back. We're back to $65 billion, even though we took 200 divided by 3, 65 billion, dropped it down. We're going to get 10%, but then the private sector is going to kick back in, and it's back to $65 billion. So there's $65 billion.
Because now you're not only investing in these things, but you're owning a piece of them, and just like any other venture investment, it grows. You've got your investment growth. So yeah, so it could have if it breaks even year over year, even forever, it's something. It'll grow.
It will grow. Absolutely.
But you'll never have less than a break-even year with something like that if it's managed properly.
I don't think so. No, I don't think you would. I mean, traditional VC.
But then you go back to these guys. They just pick these guys because they're the biggest institutions on the street. They're just the biggest dogs. Everybody had a problem, even the big dogs, in 2008, 2009 period. And so we're basically trusting the same people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a scary thought, but yes. Yeah. Hey, I'm seeing Joe's comment. I don't know what happened there. Thanks, Sean. We'll look into that. Candidly, y'all, our numbers are a little bit light today. Not really sure if there was something happened on the LinkedIn side or not. But I noticed that everybody that's in the chat, every single person that's in the chat is coming in through YouTube, which never happens. So something interesting is happening with y'all. I don't know what it is, but thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
I put out the link for the YouTube link for the show on 3 social media platforms about, around 6:00. I don't know if it's because of that. I don't know. I mean, it's a news show. We usually have a little lighter traffic than we would if we have a guest.
Yeah. So I don't know what to say about this mythical unicorn of $200 billion, but it is fun to think about. I think it gets an elevator built, right? I think it gets space stations built. Joe is saying that LinkedIn says that it's starting soon. Our show is starting soon on LinkedIn. So that's not great. Thanks, Joe. Could you screenshot that and send it off to Sean?
That's just
that's an error. Okay. All right. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Sean. You guys, Joe Luttrell and Joe Prostrudo, both of you guys. Thanks a lot for that intel.
We got a lot of good Joes in our program.
We do. Do you want to keep talking about that, or you want to move on?
We have another interesting thing that we can, move on about. Okay, Dallas Beanhoff just messaged Sean. He said there's some system issue on LinkedIn.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess I don't know how to do this. There should be, because I've got 3 basic links. that are, or at least two. There's
Tom,
two.
you had a problem getting to the show tonight yourself.
Yeah, but that was the link I get from Sean. That's the restream link. It has nothing to do with the public. Okay. And so we fixed that, or it fixed itself.
I'm going to toss in Tom, Sean's comments. He would like to see a boost in material sciences. Y'all know me. I think material sciences
are really good. That's a really good thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then he's also pushing the exoskeletons. I definitely think exoskeletons are near term, and honestly, more likely than robots in the near term. So yeah, exoskeletons.
Yeah, exoskeletons. And when I'm 95, I'll need one of those. So that's good. I like that idea. Well, the one thing I did, if we get to the end of it here, because the next thing that pops up is about asteroid mining. Dr. Anna Marie Brennan says private companies are turning asteroid mining into a commercial reality, and we got this. So they've got this article actually came out a few days ago. It's called "The Race to Mine Space is On, but Who Sets the Rules?" Now we've been talking about that a lot on this show. We've had at least 5 different shows surrounding space law and space property rights. Yeah. And she just kind of covers some of that a little bit. But she wrote a paper about regulating the environmental impact of asteroid mining. Okay, well, what environment are we talking about? Because if you're mining an asteroid, you're halfway between Mars and Jupiter at this point. And so whose environment are you impacting?
Yeah, her quote here, mining missions could create space debris that disrupts satellites and GPS, interferes with astronomy, or damages sites of scientific and cultural value. Clear regulation is crucial for safety and fairness. You're a long ways from home.
This is, I didn't know if this was real or not, but I wanted to put it here. Now we have a reason to laugh. This is like the New York Times articles about Robert Goddard. How do you, it doesn't have anything to push against. How is it going to fly in space? It's the same thing.
Right.
If there are mining missions close to Earth that could create space debris, that will be on the moon. And that space debris is going to magically fly back to Earth and just
and isn't going to come back to Leo or Geo, right?
Eddie, when you're literally taking apart an asteroid to get useful stuff out of it, any debris left over, it's either going to stay in the asteroid belt, or it's going to kind of fly outward somewhere. It's either going to go somewhere in the path of Jupiter or one of its moons, or it might drift over to Mars sometime. The odds of any of these pieces getting to Earth in any reasonable time frame is insanely unlikely.
I mean, I kind of wonder about, we know space lawyers. We like space lawyers. We've had a lot of space lawyers on our show, and we respect them. But they are space knowledgeable lawyers. Yeah. Right. I really can't figure out how this person spent so much time writing a paper about policy and not understand the basic physics involved with her argument. Yeah. I was pretty shocked by this. Yeah. Not shocked in a good way, but just wait, you had one job. You had one job. Could you have gotten it right, please? Wait a second. Yeah, I didn't have a sense of humor about this. That's what I refer to as agenda science. Yeah. Exactly. And we know them, right? Tom and I don't really have the same understanding of things like climate change, and we don't get into it very much, but we don't agree on that. But we both know, even me, that there are folks out there pushing an agenda, and those folks need to get shut down, right? It makes
And the
it makes
best
the
way to shut
whole
them down,
industry work
I
better.
find, is through ridicule. Most of the
I
time.
like facts better than ridicule,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I
I
don't
was
believe in
just
censorship,
really
but ridicule,
surprised.
I am all in favor of.
Right.
Large,
Yeah.
snarky, sarcastic
Yep.
commentary.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, I was really surprised by this article.
Jeez.
Uh,
I couldn't help
yeah.
myself. I had to put, oh God, we got to talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I sent it to you. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have a
yeah,
lot of time
just
left.
try to-
I'm going to skip the next
Yeah.
one because it's okay. It's just, okay. $137 billion was spent by governments in space last year, and 54% of it was done for defense purposes, for military defense purposes. And that's the first time it's been higher than the civil sector
Yeah.
in history. So I don't know if that's a trend or just a blip, during these uncertain times. But I wanted to get to this because it's kind of funny to go out on. Jared Isaacman decided he wants to make Pluto great again. We have to start calling it a planet again. It's poor Pluto. Here it is. Of course, it's Daily Mail. So okay.
Right. Yeah.
We endorse the idea of Trump making Pluto a planet again. At the Kennedy Space Center interview with Daily Mail, because that's been a hotly debated definition. And so Pluto was stripped of his status planet and defined as a dwarf planet in 2006. And he wants to bring Pluto back.
I don't have a dog in this fight. I do not care. But it does. There are people that like base their whole reputation on this stuff, and they are going to care. And it's kind of not up to Jared Isaacman, and it's definitely not up to Trump. So that is not a hill I would have. Of all the things Isaacman could be doing, that's not one of them. I think he should be working.
Well, interestingly, another guy who wants to reclassify Pluto as a planet again was endorsed by Shatner.
Yeah, I saw that.
He said the IAU were a bunch of corrupt nerds on a power trip.
Yeah.
But as they say in this article, if you could rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, we can make Pluto a planet again.
Not everybody agrees with that. Yeah, right. Not everybody agrees with that decision either.
Yeah.
Again, not his decision to make. And honestly, both Isaacman and Trump have got their hands full with other things that are actually important. Yep. So that's just a distraction. I think I can't believe Isaacman got pulled into that.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised.
Well, it was just a quick interview at KSC with someone from Daily Mail. Maybe he was just, this is a short little thing. I'll have some fun.
Yeah.
And so since we're getting ready to close it down, how fast the time goes. This was great.
Yeah.
For one thing, just very quickly, Star Cloud, your buddy there, he
right.
They applied to the FCC for an 88,000 constellation.
Yeah.
But there's no link to that story except Space News, which we don't subscribe to, so I didn't leave the link in. So screw you, Space News. I'm not doing it now.
We've been seeing that, right? 88,000. We talked about it a little bit last week. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And my hunch is he'll get the money to build.
So for going forward into the future, Daniel Tompkins is back with us on Thursday. Interesting guy. And so that'll be a good show. Next Monday is kind of 50-50. I will be starting the satellite conference in DC. And it's only 50-50 that I'm going to make it. Because usually everything happens the first day. And so there's always meetings, and then later those meetings turn to dinner and stuff like this. And you're there pushing your business, you're pushing your company. So we may, you guys can do a new show, or we can just play a rerun that Monday. Thursday I'll be on for sure, because the conference will be winding down. I'll have all sorts of great shit to report from the SAT show. And some great parties, including one hosted by Megan Crawford. That should be, those are usually pretty epic. So we can talk about that. What else? Okay. Oh, one thing I want to bring up, it's not on the list. Very soon now, you guys reminded me that we're going to be celebrating our 100th show sometime in April. I want to get everybody who's watching, everybody who's listening, I'd like to get you at what should we do for that? We're planning on doing maybe an extended program. Who would you like to see on it? What can we do? Is something special we can do to celebrate that? And I would love to get everybody's ideas. People are within the reach of my voice right now. You can drop us a line and let us know what your thoughts are. We'd be glad to share them and consider them.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
super cool,
at that, I know before Sean yells at me, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for coming, guys. For Michael Wayne and Sean Key, for the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.